Good morning and welcome to Michigan Farm and Garden. I'm Jody Pollock Newsom and I'm your host. We have a great show lined up for you this morning. This morning we are going to start our celebration of February is National Cherry Month by talking about the industry, partnerships, and the breeding program. Stay tuned. Good morning, and again, welcome to Michigan Farm and Garden. Folks, I don't know about you, but we certainly know that we are into winter, and it is certainly time to talk about the fact that February is National Cherry Month. You know, certainly when we look at industries across the state, the cherry industry is very important to us in Michigan, and it seems like it's always good to kind of give you updates, talk a little bit about the industry, and really let you know what's going on, especially since Michigan is such a leader in that industry. So I have with me this morning Phil Corson. He is president of the Cherry Marketing Institute, and we are going to talk about the industry, especially the tough time the industry had last year with the weather issues and the crop losses, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. What does that mean? How do you move forward with the marketing program, and really what happens next? Then I'm also excited this morning to have with me Dr. Mark Whalen. He is from Michigan State University, and we're going to talk about that link with the cherry industry and MSU, how that comes together, how they work together, how we're able to look at the research, share the information, and really be able to help move the industry forward through those partnerships and through those collaborations. Then I also have with me this morning Dr. Amy Iazzoni, and we're going to talk to her about the breeding program. Amy runs the only tart cherry breeding program in the country. So we're going to talk to her a little bit about that role and a little bit about what she does, what some of those challenges are, and how you work to find those answers to be able to help the farmers and to be able to move the industry forward. Folks, it is going to be a wonderful show that we are going to wrap up with a great recipe for cherry pie. Make sure you stay tuned, and we will be back with our first guest right after the Michigan Farm and Garden Fact of the Week.
It's time for the Michigan Farm and Garden Fact of the Week.
Cherries available year-round as dried, frozen, and juice really are America's superfruit. They're a homegrown and colorful way to reap the health-promoting properties of antioxidants. For more information, go to choosecherries.com. And welcome back. We are back with Phil Corson, President, Cherry Marketing Institute. Phil, it is great to have you back.
Hey, good morning, Jody, and thanks for the invitation to be back. I brought my coffee cup. I thought it would be a great way to start the morning with a good cup of coffee and talk about cherries.
It's always good to talk about cherries, especially such a good, strong industry in our state, but you guys have had a little bit of a tough year.
Yeah, we have had. And before I start, I want to give you a coffee cup. I hope you enjoy it. It's a Powered by Cherries coffee cup.
There you
so
go.
Hopefully that's something that you can use as you travel throughout the state and as you get up in the morning and start your day. The cherry industry has gone through quite a year, really, from the standpoint that we're the leader in tart cherry production. We have the capacity to grow 275 million pounds every year. This last year we had 6. So
wow.
When we talk about the fiscal cliff, our industry went over the fiscal cliff. And so we're really at a point where we're really trying to rebuild our markets, hold on to the markets that we have, and really try to communicate with our consumers to stay with us. We'll be back.
Well, and I think that's so important because, you know, a lot of times consumers, I don't think they really realize how that weather affects an industry, and that is a huge decrease from 275 to 6.
Yeah, we get up every day and that's all we think about is cherry research, our international markets, our domestic marketing promotion programs, and then of course our health benefits research are ongoing. And so, you know, our growers every day are thinking about how do we increase capacity, how do we address quality issues, how do we grow the finest produce that we can produce and then manufacture it and sell it in finished products to consumers. And that, when you have all of those things in play, and we go through a year like 2012, for 2013, it's really about recapturing markets for us and really trying to come back strong, and hopefully our consumers will stay with us as we work through that process.
Well, and I have to say, my cup is certainly appropriate because we eat so many cherries and dried cherries in our house. We'll be there. We'll just be a little more careful and not eat them quite by the handful, but eat them by the fingerful. How's that?
The Cherry Industry Man of the Year this year was Bob Gregory. And in Bob Gregory's address at the Northwest Station to the industry, he made the comment, he said, you know what, we're going through a tough time this year and our crop is going to be short. But he said, you know, one thing that nobody can take away from us, and that's the health benefits of cherries. And so we as an industry are going to continue to invest in the research side of that. And as we go forward, we'll continue to push that information out to the consumer at the consumer level and really try to build support for our manufacturers and encourage them to get back into the marketplace as quick as they can. Our industry has really changed from a very traditional ingredient that's used in pies and lots of other products to more of the juices and dried fruits. And those juices and dried fruits are really new markets for us. And so our goal as we look to the future in those rapidly growing markets is to continue to fill those markets with U.S. grown fruit. And let's face it, cherries are America's superfruit. We're proud of that, and we hope our consumers are as well, and will stay with us as we go through this time.
Well, and I would certainly think so. You know, we've talked on the show, we've got a lot of folks' information, really shared the information, let them know what it means from the health benefits side. And I think we realize it's just one of those strange little things that happens. Hopefully we never have another 2012 again.
You got that right. We're connected in many, many different ways. And so at the end of the day, for us in our industry, it's something I think Michigan's very proud of, is the fact that we grow 75% of the U.S. supply year in and year out. And so by having so much production in this state, when we have a weather event like we had this year, it can dramatically change an industry. And we've had great partners from Michigan State University helping us take care of some of the research needs that we have to have covered for this year. To the Michigan Department of Agriculture, who stepped up and helped us through some value-added grants to really help rebuild our marketing program coming into the fall and relaunch trade advertising into the fall and winter. And so it's really amazing to me how many partners show up to help out. And just before Christmas, we got a really nice little check from Cherry Republic up in Traverse City, who said, hey, you know, we've been a part of your industry for a long, long time. Here's a check for $3,500. Use it as you wish. We just want to be on the side of helping you out. And so those kinds of things are really neat when you go through years like this year to try to pull things back together.
Well, and sometimes, unfortunately, it takes some of those to really realize who all those friends are. And that's one thing I would say about agriculture, especially for folks who aren't in it. Yeah. It really is like a big family. What can we do? How can we help each other out? How do we keep supporting each other? And we really do have each other's back.
Yeah, it really is an amazing process because when you look at the complexity of a marketing program today and running marketing programs, and we, you know, normally are managing revenues of about $2.5 million, and looking at this year where our gross revenue from farm receipts this year for the program is $50,000. You know, you sometimes have to pinch yourself and say, okay, this is going to be an interesting year. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, it's really amazing how many people come through during times like these to really step up and say, hey, look, let's see what we can do with the limited dollars that we have and make as much as we can out of them.
Well, and I think it's nice as we look at all that, kind of see how things have come together, and then also realize, too, we're looking February, National Cherry Month. There is a lot to celebrate, and it really is a tradition, really, to have that celebration.
Yeah, you bet. February is National Cherry Month. It's a very traditional month for us because as the winter lingers on, it gets very cold and lots of snow. Well, baking is really a great opportunity for us during that time period. So for us, February is an opportunity to take a step back and really talk about tradition, think about tradition. And so we really, you mentioned at the start of the show that you were going to talk about a cherry pie recipe at the end. Well, cherry pie is a very hot item during National Cherry Month because of the winter and weather that we have during that time of the year. So it's a really nice fit for us on the bakery side, and then throughout the rest of the year, we will really focus in on a lot of the new product categories that we have and products that we have.
Well, Phil, we appreciate it. Time always goes so fast. There is a lot to celebrate. Certainly looking at the industry, even though we know it was a tough year, we know you guys will be back full force, ready to go next year.
Thanks for your help and support.
Folks, certainly lots of opportunities in agriculture. We know how important the cherry industry is in our state. So keep getting out there, look for those cherry products, and remember, we're going to have a lot more when we look at the harvest this summer. Stay tuned. We'll be back right after this message.
The Cherry Marketing Institute wants you to know about tart cherries. Cherry's red color comes from powerful antioxidants. Available year-round, it's easy to incorporate cherries into your daily diet. Visit choosecherries.com.
Michigan's 1,000 apple growers take pride in producing delicious apples from one generation to the next. From the Great Lakes come great flavors. Look for locally grown Michigan apples.
Have Jody speak at your next agricultural event. Go to jodylive.com.
And welcome back. We are back with Dr. Mark Whalen of Michigan State University. Mark, welcome to the show. It's good to have you back.
Thank you, Jody. It's always great to come and speak with you.
Well, I appreciate it. And, you know, Phil talked a little bit about it. Partnerships, Michigan State, the cherry industry, Michigan State, and a lot of industries out there. That is just a really important collaboration and partnership.
Yeah, that's really true, you know, and a lot of people these days don't really understand that there's a huge tradition going back for almost 162 years where Michigan State University has served agriculture and served the primary industries of this state. And one of the ways that Michigan State serves is in the area of agriculture, and in this instance, in cherries, there's been a long partnership between Michigan State University and the cherry industry, where Michigan State University provides research and primary insight into issues and problems and ways of, for example, shaking trees so that we can harvest trees very efficiently. A lot of that technology came out of USDA and Michigan State University into the industry, but we didn't do it alone. It was a huge partnership, and it's been a long partnership with the cherry industry.
Well, and I think those are so important because really the issues change as you look at look over the years, look at the challenges, and yeah, because if you didn't have the shakers today, harvest would be a whole lot different.
That's right. I mean, have you ever picked cherries with your fingers up in a tree?
Oh yeah. Oh,
so
man.
now we're talking about grabbing on a tree and shaking all the fruit off there in a few seconds. And the technology to do that, the science, the chemistry that went into that, the hormones that control the abscission layer in the cherry and how it comes off. And these days, though, we're having other major challenges, and that's through invasive species. The world suddenly got much smaller because we have all kinds of transportation, people traveling all over the world, trade going on. So we have new invasive species every year, and cherries are not alone in that. Every crop in Michigan has had those problems. Michigan State University stands there to deal with those and help the industry in a partnership to solve those kind of problems.
Well, and I think that is so important as we look at the new pest issues, we look at the science, the technology, it has come so far. I mean, when we just think of our automobiles, how those have changed, agriculture has changed so much more and is really ahead of that curve, looking at all the things that we can do and all the technology and all the diagnosis.
Yeah. And in fact, you know, when you look at where we're at today in terms of the complexity of the science, in the area of integrated pest management, which I'm an expert in and have spent almost 35 years of my life doing, but in that arena, the partnership between growers, for example, the experiment station in Northwest Michigan was purchased by growers and then leased to the university for $1 a year or something like that.
Wow.
And then we built facilities there, and we populate that facility with researchers and extensionists to address a lot of these issues into that industry, and not just the cherry industry, but into the apple industry and in vines and grapes and in all kinds of different aspects of agriculture happen because of a partnership not only with cherries, but with the rest of the community of growers in that region to do specific research to solve problems. And you know, when we think about some of the things that are really going on today in agriculture with trade from overseas and competition really ramping up, the cherry industry has done very well, thank you.
Good. Well, that is important, and I think it's important too. It shows how those partnerships and how that research, and you know, I know the new buzzword that everybody talks about is sustainability. You guys, you know, talk about being ahead of the curve, have already done a lot to show that crop and to show how you've tightened those processes.
Just in the time that I've been here at Michigan State University, we have reduced pesticide inputs into agriculture dramatically. Not just us, not just the university, although a lot of the research that we've done has had big impacts there, but growers leading out. And the kind of experimentation I was talking about a minute ago of actually doing on-farm research where growers could come and witness it, see it all through the year. The partnership of that process with cherry resource dollars coming into the research area of the university competing for national and federal grants to solve problems. That kind of partnership with growers solves a lot of problems, and we have solved a lot of problems. There are other things to be done, but the nutrients of the tree, this area of integrated pest management where we really reduce pesticide inputs and systems, those kind of technologies came about through a handshake that started 160 years ago and is still going.
Well, and certainly I think that leaves a lot to celebrate as we think about, you know, February is Cherry Month. It is an industry in our state that's huge that I think sometimes folks take for granted and don't realize all those years, all those relationships, and all that science and technology to move it forward and keep it on the cutting edge.
Yeah, that's really true. I think of an invasive species, this little tiny little fly, spotted winged Drosophila. This fly showed up here a couple of years ago, wasn't very important, nobody noticed it, and then all at once it was a pest in all kinds of crops, blueberries and cherries and on and on and on. And this past year, in spite of not having cherries, growers had to control it. So their expenses continue to go on. And as long as we do trade internationally, we're going to continue to get a stream of new pests. So this partnership has not only got to go on, it's got to go on strongly into the future.
Well, Mark, we appreciate it, and we appreciate all the work that you're doing, and I think a lot to give folks at home to think about when we think about industries and agriculture and all the really different things that really do affect it. So,
thank you, Jody.
Thank you. Folks, certainly we know how important the cherry industry is to our state, but it's also those partnerships, it's those collaborations that make sure we keep that industry on the cutting edge. Stay tuned. We'll be back right after this message.
This chicken is beak over claw for meal made from U.S. soybeans. Now, one chicken may not be too much to cluck about, but suppose we add another, and another, and another. Before long, you've got billions of hungry customers around the world all clamoring for the same thing, our soybeans. Learn more about the billion-dollar appetite of animal agriculture at BeyondTheElevator.com. Brought to you by America's soybean farmers and their checkoff.
And welcome back. We are back with Dr. Amy Iazzoni. Amy, welcome to the show. It's good to have you here.
Thank you. Great to be here and talk about cherries.
Well, certainly, and to have the only tart cherry breeding program in the country, that's quite a cool title and quite a neat program.
Well, I'm here because Michigan's a tart cherry state.
Well, we are glad to have you here, and it sounds like, you know, talking with Mark, the relationship, the partnership, it sounds like you've had a lot to work on.
Yes, yes. You know, my job is to develop new varieties of tart cherries that will increase grower profitability and hopefully result in increased consumer demand. And of course, there are a lot of challenges to address after this year.
I know this year was really tough, and I think you brought a picture showing really what happened to some of that crop with that freeze.
Right, since what I do is unusual, I did bring some pictures, and you'll see in this slide We have a breeding solution to the freeze damage problem. As you know, this year and in 2002, we had a terrible crop loss in the state. And what you'll see on these slides is that the pistils get frozen, and of course the pistil turns into the fruit. So if you have that freeze, you don't have any fruit. And I began my career as a plant collector, traveled in Russia, and so the cherry that had the live pistils, despite the freeze, was a selection from Russia.
Oh, wow.
So we're trying to breed that Russian evolved freeze tolerance into a commercially successful cherry here.
Wow.
Yeah.
Very exciting, and I bet especially years like this, growers are right there wondering, you know, it does take a long time to get those products ready
geez.
and to get them to market.
Yes, yes. Then I can showcase a second problem that the growers know very well, and that's the cherry leaf spot. Despite no fruit, they were out there spraying for a foliar disease. Well, this is not a new problem, and so we found a source of cherry leaf spot resistance in a wild species. And so on the left on this slide, you can see the devastation in the orchard. The leaves simply fall off, which is not good. You can't grow a cherry with no leaves. And so this new resistance, the leaves stay on with no sprays at all.
Wow.
So we're in the breeding process of that, you know, we're plugging away.
Well, and to have the ability to find some of those sources and to be able to breed that through and to get that into the program, I think that says a lot for you and what you've been able to do through your resources to find those solutions to some of those problems.
Oh yeah, we go hunting everywhere. The next one is the armillaria, the root rot resistance. I mean, if there's this fungus in the soil, the trees die. I mean, an orchard is out of production. It's devastating. And a colleague of mine, Ray Hammerschmidt, found that this wild species that's an ornamental, someone might have it in the landscape, is tolerant to this fungus. So we made some crosses this year. You can see our bagging and seeding things to try to breed this into new varieties of rootstocks. So the trees will stay alive.
Well, and I don't think people realize, but you know, we mentioned the leaf spot, we talk about this, things like that that can go through and take out an orchard, that can also take out the producer. It's not a couple trees. We're looking at the big orchards, and it's you know, done on a large scale. Huge issues.
Yeah. So, I mean, now you have the problems and there's genetic solutions. How can you throw cutting edge science at it? And there's a lot of cutting edge science you can throw at these problems right now because of the advances in genetics. And so I'm the project director of a really big collaborative project that includes apples, sweet and tart cherries, peaches, and strawberries to use modern genetics to help us breed faster and get these new varieties into the hands of growers faster. And this slide just illustrates why we're all working together. And what it shows is that the gene for red skin color in apple is the same gene for red color in cherry, is the same gene for red color in peach. So if we make a discovery in one of our rosaceous crops, we can leverage that knowledge to make faster gain in the others.
Wow. Very interesting and very neat to see how that is all related together through that coloring. And I bet there's a lot of other ways as you're looking at doing that collaboration, that there's so many ways to really help multiple industries.
Right, right. So we collaborate with all the apple, cherry, and peach, and many of the peach and strawberry breeders. And what we're trying to do is increase our ability to use DNA knowledge to speed up the process. And we're hoping improve fruit quality, improve apple quality, tackle some of the cherry problems I talk about today, get that better tasting strawberry.
So we know they're all, we always have that. Well, in looking through, I know there's challenges for the industry. As you're looking at these and some of these solutions, it does take a while to get through to
Right.
find those varieties and to find out that right breeding and that right mix.
Right, it's too bad. You know, it is going to take some time, but that's no reason not to do it. And so what keeps me optimistic is saying that if we can, as scientists, leverage the best information in the world available to us, then we can try our best to speed this up.
Well, and I think it's very exciting, especially when we look at being the cherry capital, to know the kinds of issues that you're dealing with and to know that there are solutions that are out there on the horizon that are coming your way.
Right, and that it's a lot of people out there are helping fund this through national programs, and there's a lot of partnering going on. So it's not just the cherry industry that has to give their very limited resources to fund this.
Well, Amy, we appreciate all you've done,
Thank
and we're
you.
glad you're here. And Michigan, we are glad to be home to the breeding program for tart
Right.
cherries. And keep up the good work, and we'll keep folks posted on how you're doing, and maybe they can get up to some of the Hort stations and really see
Sure.
how these projects work.
Sure, thank you.
Thank you. Folks, certainly we know how important the cherry industry is to our state. There's so much that's going on behind the scenes, and it is so important that we have breeders such as Amy out there looking to see what are those problems and how can we find solutions. Stay tuned. We'll be back right after this message.
This hog is head over hoof for meal made from U.S. soybeans. Now, one hog isn't that impressive, but suppose we add another, and another, and another. Before long, you've got billions of hungry customers around the world all clamoring for the same thing. Our soybeans. Learn more about the billion-dollar appetite of animal agriculture at BeyondTheElevator.com. Brought to you by America's soybean farmers and their checkoff.
Phil, we are back, and there is a lot going on in this industry.
You bet, there is. And I hope you really picked up on the partnership piece, because we are really connected to MSU through our partnership, and it's really cool.
Well, and I think it's so important to be able to have those answers coming. We know you're not going to have it tomorrow, but you're in that process. You're working on that breeding program, and there's a pretty awesome team behind the industry.
Yeah, it means a lot to our producers and clearly a lot to consumers. And as we look to the future, I think the future is bright.
Well, and I'm thinking, just sitting here looking at the table, we have a very interesting, you think of cherries,
Yeah.
Traditionally we've always thought cherry pie.
Yep, it's one of the best.
Well, and you know what a neat thing I think too, when you look at cherry pie, there's so many different recipes, so many people have their own, so many have the family recipe. Mine is really easy, it is very, very simple, it's Mom's. Actually, that is mine, that's the best, is always to have Mom's. Basically, she starts with the can of the tart cherries, puts in 3/4 cup sugar, 1/4 cup flour, puts in a little butter, puts on the top crust, put it in the oven, and there you go. It really can be a whole lot easier than that, can it?
Yep, pretty straightforward.
There you go. And I think the nice thing too, you can do so many things. You could do a crumb topping, you could just do a crust topping. You can really make that pie whatever it is that your family's favorite.
Yep.
Very good diversity. Folks, if you want to try this recipe, as always, you can visit us online at MichiganFarmingGarden.com or write to Michigan Farm and Garden Recipes, P.O. Box 461, Williamston, Michigan 48895. And Phil, I think a great way to start to celebrate February's Cherry Month is, I think everybody should just make a pie.
What a great way to end the program.
Folks, for Phil and I, you get out there and make your cherry pie.
You
How's
got it.
that? You start that cherry celebration, and we'll see you back here next week. Bye-bye. Back here next week. Bye-bye.